areas. And just like the chief said, the reason for that is because guns, drugs, criminals travel in vehicles, and that's what we're going to be looking for. And on the occasion that we do stop the good citizen, we are not out there to pick on you, and I want you to know that. We are out there because we want to find those guns, we want to find the drugs, get the criminals off the street, so you're going to be able to walk to the store safely, and you're going to be able to feel safe in your own home and your own neighborhood. Thank you.
You know, this is going to be an expensive initiative. As I told you, I'm moving 16 officers in this, and it's going to leave some voids behind in the assignments they're coming from, which I'm going to backfill with overtime. So this is not a reduction in the uniform patrol force that you're going to see out there. I'm going to have more officers working overtime. And where am I going to get the money for that in this budget crisis time? My staff has worked extremely hard to cut overtime. And we've saved a lot of money this year already. We have the money already saved to pay for this initiative. And ideally, that's what overtime's for. It's for when something like this occurs and you really need to step up your enforcement, bring some extra people into something. The beauty of something like this task force is all of our officers want to do something about the things that we're reading, but they all have jobs to do, right? A detective has crimes to investigate. He wants to get out on the street and do things. Officers in flights, officers in patrol. Sorry about that, HOI. I hope you're still alive. It's about that bad story you did. You know, everybody wants to be involved and they want to do something, but everybody has 8 hours of work to do in their 8 hours that they have to patrol. And patrol officers are going to calls. I'm freeing up officers who are not committed to calls, who have the time to do what we all want to do. And they have the eagerness to do it. I had 16 positions. I don't know how many I had volunteer. I was a little concerned that working these kinds of hours and changing their off days and asking what I'm going to ask of them, that I'd have a hard time finding enough people, and we've had more than enough people. We've got a lot of young officers, and maybe some not so young, who really want to do the right thing in Peoria, and they want to get about changing these things. So with that, I'll open it up to some questions. If you like it, I was told that the councilmen are willing to answer questions if you have a question for them, and I don't know if anyone else does. There's some other dignitaries here, or law enforcement in the room, if you have a question for one of us specifically. Before I do that, I had one last comment. Sometimes you can lose the simple solution by overcomplicating things, and I know that there are issues out there that contribute to this. I know there's poverty. I know there's broken families. I know there's drug addiction. I know there's alcoholism. I know there are a lot of things that are beyond these kids' control that have led them down the path that they're on. I can't fix all that. Okay? There's a whole society that's working on those problems, and I have to trust them to do it. But the little piece of it that I've got, which is the public safety, and as the sheriff and Dean Kennedy said, my little piece is that you can walk out of your house at night and not worry about gunfire, or that when your kids are laying on the couch watching TV, there's not bullets coming through the wall. That's a lot to fix, and that's what I'm focusing on. And so I apologize, there are a lot of issues out there that my little task force doesn't resolve, and I acknowledge they're out there, but I can only bite off what I can chew, and this is what we're going to work on. So with that, any questions?
What time should we let people know that this curfew is starting, and what is the age range? Can you give me some more details on that?
The curfew has always been in effect. The question is, how much can we enforce it? And
you said you're changing, you're doing a special curfew?
We're putting some extra officers out starting tonight. And their sole function is going to be to travel in these affected areas and watch for kids. So again, getting back to the reach out to the kids in your family and your neighbors' kids, spread that word. I know you're going to report on it. Please make that part of the little probably 20 seconds you do on this. Keep your kids in the house.
So it's not that the time is changing, is that correct? It's
correct.
You're gonna, so
correct.
Can you reiterate the age and time limits?
Vince Whelan, why don't you cover that, please?
During the weeknight, anybody under 12, I think, it's 10 o'clock. Weekends, it's 11. And as far as the times, anytime when that curfew goes in effect, they should be in. So they're subject to curfew violation.
So Monday through Friday, anyone under 12 should be in by 10?
Correct.
And on the weekends? 11 p.m., same age
I
range?
believe it's 11.
And that, keep in mind too, that doesn't mean that you can't be traveling from a family member's house with your kids in a car and that they're violating the curfew. That probably doesn't need to be said. It's kids out there that are not escorted by their parents or legal guardian.
And one other thing I want to reiterate, parents, there is a parental responsibility clause also in the curfew. The parents know that their children are out and they should, and not take responsibility. They are also subject to receiving a violation.
And when I was a young officer, I heard all the things that we still hear today, which is, I would pick up kids on curfew and I'd take them home and mom would say, well, they don't listen to me. He doesn't listen to me. He goes out, I tell him to stay in, he goes out. You know what? Those are your kids, they're your responsibility. Find a way.
How many officers are going to be out starting tonight, and for how long are these officers going to be put just for curfew?
Well, we're going to do that intermittently, and I really don't want to say the exact number and give that out yet, but it won't be every night, and it will be, we're going to mix it up. Sometimes weeknights, sometimes weekends. We'll put it.
What's that? Across the city?
Different, well, I'm going to be focusing on these red spots, right? And that's a good question. If I say across the city, I got, 50 square miles of Peoria that I'm trying to address curfew and address the shooting problem. Part of this is, remember, this is about the violent crime. And not only are young people getting involved in crimes that should be at home, they're becoming victims of the crime. And I can't change the whole city overnight, but I got to change those red spots, okay? I want those red spots to at least turn green, and that means I got to pay attention to those areas. And the broader area I go, the more I dilute my resources to the point where there'll be no noticeable difference.
Go ahead. General, go ahead.
I was just wondering, since these are desperate times and they call for desperate measures, could we increase the age limit for the curfew and shorten the time? Make sure the kids aren't out there at those hours?
Yeah, that'd be something we can look at, and I can discuss with the mayor and council, et cetera. A gentleman way in the back's been...
Pastor Andrew Jowers. I'm a member of the NAACP. Mr. Jackson's in convention this week. He would have been here. Dr. Ali called me and asked me to come as a part of NAACP. My question is that there needs to be, the curfew is on record. We know that is exists today. But there should still be some type of drawing in of those parents, whether some, grace period, just, to let the parents know, to say, this is our way of reaching out to the entire community to let you know, hey, we are going to heighten this awareness in terms of the curfew, that we give folks a time, not a long period of time, but there's still, maybe the newscast tonight will do some, but
What would you consider to be a reasonable grace period?
that discussion needs to be had, but I just think there needs to be some type of reaching out to the community to say to those good folks that live in those neighborhoods that have children, grandchildren, that hey, this is going to happen. Keep your kids. We're going to start enforcing this to a very high degree. You need to be mindful that your children could be in this.
How about this? And I'd be willing to do this. That through this weekend, we're going to pick kids up, but we won't write any tickets. Through Sunday. Starting Monday and then thereafter, tickets are going to come and tickets are going to be written to parents as well. Anybody got the fine amount on that curfew ticket? Why don't we do this? After the meeting, anybody that's interested, we can give you a copy of the ordinance and the exact fine amounts. $50, Sergeant Edelman. $50 from Sergeant Edelman. Sold. I'm sorry.
What's the penalty for parents?
Penalty for parents. I think that's for the curfew. We'll get it to you. We'll get it to you. Yes, Ash.